everyone there was clearly really excited to be there. Like I saw a dad taking his little kid. Like she was very loud in the beginning where like they were coming into the theater and she was like, "Is this the right one?" She was like yelling up to people and we were just like, "Yeah."
Wow.
You just as Gangle, you're
Aw.
right where you need to be.
Aw.
um, it was really cute, and like he was like struggling on the steps trying to find their proper seating. It was, and like apologizing to people. He seemed like a really sweet dad. I'm like,
Aw.
ah. But yeah, there was so many people there who were very, very excited. And after like it ended, they were all like really. There was an applause, and then there was also like just a lot of smiles happening outside the theater. So that's
Yeah.
nice. That was really good.
Yeah, I'm glad we
Good
were
vibes.
I'm glad we were able to get the first screening and everything. So before we get started, I do want to say I enjoyed myself. I really liked the finale. And I think Goose did as well of a job as she could have with the finale because there was so many like actually, you know what? No, I'm going to be petty. Uh, I want everyone who told me in my comment section about my Kane video that Kane doesn't have humanity, eat shit. Just eat so much shit, man. Oh, I was right about that. But also
Wow.
secondarily, I was wrong about Kane staying basically. My sentiment was that yeah, I don't think Kane's gonna be here with the crowd anymore. I think he's gonna say farewell or something. I just needed a moment of vindication. I think the live action moment was actually quite nice of them. I think that was cool. I love that Jax looks exactly like what everyone stereotypically expected him to look like, and I was just like, yes, this emo fucking can't take anything like sincerely because he's so out of touch. This tall, lengthy, edgy emo boy.
I'm delightedly happy. Like I'm so shocked that I just was not pulled out of it by them going into live action. I'm so happy to be wrong on a lot of stuff. For the finale,
Mm-hmm.
we'll touch on the other stuff, but like I'm so happy that it just didn't it came so naturally to the show. Like God, every time I'm like, how are they gonna pull this off? And they just do. I'm like, oh, okay. Hell yeah.
Good shit.
They just do it. I mean, they don't just do it, but like it. Kudos to everyone who had a hand in like writing, like helping in any of that regard. Like the whole staff. The Glitch is right. They should absolutely be proud of this. This was a beautiful series.
This was a monumental achievement for Glitch, but also kind of just like the indie scene in general. I think this was something very special, and maybe you're gonna understand where I'm coming from here when I say this. I think there is an artistry to actually ending something, and I think in a sea of shows that just get unceremoniously canceled, it's like watching a friend actually say farewell before they leave as opposed to a friend just vanishing immediately. I didn't realize this until like I watched the finale where I was like, oh, I haven't felt like an ending catharsis in actually a really long time. And it's so strange to just go like, oh man, this is really bittersweet. I kind of want more, but I have to bat that instinct away because if we don't bat that instinct away, that's how things kind of lose their value, their spark, because if something gets to go on forever, suddenly we're in like, what, season 30 of The Simpsons and like decades of Family Guy, and everything eventually just kind of winds down. I like that the story gets to wrap up, and I like that I get to go, I really would like more, but I'm also very happy with what I got, and I'm very excited and happy to have been there for this kind of momentous moment.
No, I get what you're saying, where it's just like, I think the first example of like a cathartic ending to something I watched, I think the last one I can remember off the top of my head is Owl House. And even then, I'm like, this is a much tidier ending.
Oh,
The
yeah.
circumstances are way different. Glitch and Gooseworks ended on their own terms, like they decided when to
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
But like still, like the artistry of it stands where like they ended the Owl House fairly well, I would say, for what they were given. And like I'm no longer like, I don't have this itch for more with it. It is contained now. There's a period at the end of the sentence.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah. In a very like saying farewell is always hard because it's kind of like, wait, no, don't go. I really like you. Don't leave. But it has to leave. And I don't know. I think there's something about having a satisfying ending that leaves a kind of nice sentiment in my head. I think the first time I felt a satisfying ending was like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends when that ended with like its movie also, I believe. It's so bittersweet, honestly. That's how I think most endings should be, where there is like a bittersweet sorrow of saying goodbye. I love the joke that people have been saying this kind of low-key since episode like what 2, where it's like, oh, Kinger is a girl dad, and then like, oh hey, Kinger actually is a girl dad. It's like, oh, that's really funny. That's really fucking funny.
I don't know whether it was like added or not, but I'm happy either way that it's canon. Like no matter who Kinger is, whether he's Kinger or he's Grant, he's a girl dad.
Yeah. I really appreciate that they kind of left it vaguely ambiguous about like the abstracting element of it, where it's like there's parts of them that are still there, like evidently they're still in there, and it's going to be probably some kind of lots of work to, you know, get them out of it. But I appreciate that. I appreciate that there are actual consequences to characters' actions. I appreciate that there are changes to the world as a result of character action and agency. And I really appreciate the theme of connection. I'm glad that there wasn't like this big dramatic moment about Jax like abstracting. It's just like a very bittersweet, like, oh, you just don't check in on a person. You don't push. You try to respect their boundaries, and suddenly they're gone forever. And massive part of them is gone forever. And I think that was probably the right emotional call. Especially given how popular Jax is with the fandoms and stuff. I appreciate that this is how Jax was handled personally.
I have a lot to say about abstraction now that we have a better understanding of it. I have life experiences now that it make how they handled Jax even more poignant, how they handled Ribbit more poignant, and now it just like the people who were writing this, they understand perfectly what they're doing and like the mental health aspects of everything in this series, and I'm just so floored, and I hope that this helps a lot of people. I hope that like it just reaches out to the right people.
You know, the fact that a good chunk of the audience was children, I think the children are at least going to take away that, hey, reach out to your friends, pry a little bit if you have to, but keep in touch. I think that's a very good thing to leave the audience aware with about human connection.
I love that it doesn't put it all on one person to reach out, because that is like the way that they had Pomni try to do it all herself, and she started glitching out. She started abstracting. That is such an important detail to me. And then they all come in and be like, what do you mean you're going to try and do that on your own? You don't need to do that. You can't do that on your own.
Yeah.
And like that's beautiful. Ribbit is the consequence of trying to support someone alone.
Yeah.
Ribbit and Ragatha, people who are trying to support someone entirely on their own, they don't understand the toll it takes on themselves, and that can lead you to the same path as the person you're trying to uplift.
Yeah.
And so Pomni having the complete and total support of other people to help Jax, like that's beautiful. God, this series is so smart. Oh,
it's smart, and it's also very deeply empathetic to the cause, which I'm very grateful for.
Like this whole series message is like, what do you do when you can't escape your circumstances? You choose love, you choose community, you choose to be there for people and to let people be there for you. And I think that is so important in this day and age. It's always going to be important, but like now, especially when we have so many children nowadays do not have in real life friends.
Yeah.
They only have online friends. And so it's, sorry, I'm not crying. I have a,
It's okay. It's
I'm
all
not
right.
crying, you're crying.
You can collect your thoughts. It's okay.
It's such a good finale, dude. I know I keep saying it, but it's true.
I think the part I was the most impressed by is kind of the transition from like Ribbit and Jax's beginning of their relationship to what feels like an extremely intimate relationship, that it devolved because Jax has a fear of intimacy. and how that literally caused everything to spiral. And I appreciate Gooseworks for doing this because it's explicitly calling out this kind of behavior. It's like you're so afraid of getting hurt, you're so afraid of being vulnerable with someone else, and you're just so in your own head that you're literally causing harm to the people around you, and the only way you can escape it for your own idiotic sake is by just never prying. And as a result of that, everyone's fucked. Everything just feels bad.
And yet, in the same token, like, without excusing any of his behavior, we perfectly understand why he is the way he is. It makes total sense for him to be so scared of people telling him that he can trust them, that they care for him deeply,
Yeah.
because his own mother was so hot and cold with him, where, like, she would be so cruel and compare him to a man who abandoned them. Or at least abandoned Jax. And then when he was vulnerable with her about that, we'll get into that, I imagine, she laughed in his face and berated him and then tried to hug him. And it's like, you can't hurt someone and then in the same breath try to draw them closer without them getting mixed messages, especially when they're your child. Like, Jax is young. Jax is really young. He's like, what, 21, 22?
I believe he's 21, because Gooseworks put out the canonical ages a while ago, but yeah, he's like early 20s.
Like, the last time he was vulnerable with someone prior to the circus, it ended in disaster for both of them.
Yeah.
In his vision, self-defense, like, he pushed her away.
Yeah.
And he didn't intend to, but at the same token, like, your choices are your choices. So I think it makes complete sense the way he, like, why he is the way he is. It's so nice to have it be validated, like, him being someone who is not good or bad. Like, his actions are bad. He was a shit friend at the very least, but also you see how he got there in such a small amount of time. God, the series is so well written in the sense that, like, every time, I'm going to say it probably a couple more times, especially about the thing with Ribbit and the bow tie, like, I'm blown away with every time. I'm like, how are they gonna fit this in? We don't have enough time. And then they just do it.
There is a sentiment that My Hero Academia has that I really appreciate, which is that to be a hero is to basically butt into other people's business. It is to kind of intrude and see what's going on and basically try your best to aid and help. And it's unfortunate because I think we live in an age now where we are so very defensive about our own mental psyches and about who we are as people, where it's like, hey, you know, if someone wants to be left alone, you should respect their wishes. But if you respect their wishes, then bad things happen.
Yeah.
It's a very hard line and value to have, and I appreciate that Pomni specifically is kind of just like, hey, we're friends, you don't get to just push me aside and pretend that none of this mattered and that none of this worked. Because Pomni in the episode with the guns, which I'll go on the record and say this, it was not my favorite episode. I think a little bit of the writing for that episode was heavy-handed, but that scene specifically is so good because it's someone who will actively fight for you, who will fight for the necessity of you, and will fight for your friendship even if you're trying to push them away. And I think that is such a good, element of Pomni's character. I really appreciate how all the characters kind of bounce into each other. Like Zubul being trans, okay, this is like a thing that's been very annoying, especially in the modern age, where it's like, why is your character the way that they are? Like, if your character is disabled, are you trying to say something about disability? If your character is trans, are you trying to say something about that? Because by narrative default, we always assume that everyone is kind of like cis and straight, and if they don't look human, they are gonna act generally white-coded. Like in She-Ra, where like even though all the people there are aliens, they all, relatively speaking, mostly white-coded. And the vibe of it is like, the annoying thing for writers is that why does our identity need to be making some kind of commentary or statement? And it's, I think, generally because it's the political landscape. It's like there are only two genders, straight and political. There are only two races, white and political. And it's very annoying. But in the case of this, I like that Gooseworks manages to do both, where it is like Zubul is Zubul. Zubul is the way that they are because it's literally the way that they are. But also secondarily, like Zubul being so openly accepting of like their own trans experience turns to Jax. Gee, I wonder why you have beef with Zubul. I wonder what about this confident trans character makes you hate yourself, you piece of shit. I want to go on the record and say this as well. I am actually, out of the entire cast, I'm actually a big Ragatha fan. I like someone who actually and actively tries her best to be nice and to be kind, and even if it is against her nature, which granted, I know a lot of people don't care for Ragatha. They're very like, oh, you know, she's fake. She's not.
Skill issue.
Yeah. It's like she's fake. She's not really being genuine. She's hiding who she is. And I understand that sentiment. But also it's like it's like if someone gets rage baited and you're mad at them for not cussing you out, it's like, yeah, this person's been taught control and it's like maturity. I also appreciate that in the finale, Pomni, this is something Ragatha's needed so desperately. She needed some kind of affirmation and validation that someone actually cares about her, and the fact that Pomni recognizes this and is like, hey, you're one of my friends and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Oh, my heart. Oh, Ragatha, she needed that. This woman needed it so badly.
I adore that the answer to everything was them talking it out in that moment and hugging and coming to the conclusion, like Pomni coming to the conclusion of what needs to be done happened with Ragatha.
Yes.
And it's like, usually, like, okay, like I want to be on the record here saying, like, I fully see the math of people who ship Ragatha and Pomni.
Yeah.
That said, I love the ambiguity of it because it would not add or detract.
Yes.
In my personal opinion, whether they were together or not, or had like romantic feelings, the point of the story is that they chose connection
Yes.
and love in any capacity
Yes.
in that place of despair. That's the point of it. They didn't need anything other than like best friends. But I mean, you know what? I would take dessert in that regard. Like lesbians, absolutely. Another pair of lesbians, delicious. Thank you. But like the point of the story there was that they chose love instead of despair in the moment where like most people would have chosen despair. And I think that's absolutely beautiful.
Ragatha was so touch-starved. So the fact that Pomni was willing to breach the space, because the thing about like people who observe boundaries and observe other people's boundaries is that they don't allow themselves to be touched, in part because they're trying to make sure other people are okay. And I think Pomni recognizing this, Pomni's greatest skill, what does she bring to the group? And it's like the Roxy Richter joke of like, I have something the other boys don't. And it's like, what's that? Emotional intelligence. And it's like, yeah, Pomni, hell yeah. Fucking adore Pomni. It's really cute. It's really good. But yeah, no, like I'm very glad Ragatha gets a moment to shine, because I feel like Ragatha often, probably the most in the entire narrative, doesn't get a lot of great moments, and this time she gets like such a standout like moment with Pomni, and it's very good. I appreciate that Zubul never really changes their demeanor about how fucking upset they are about how shit the circumstances and shit generally is. Especially in regards to Jax, where it's like, of course Jax would do this when we can't fucking do anything about it. And I think, again, there's like an element here of like boundaries and how people don't like to have their boundaries intruded upon, but there's a phrase, I think it was Brenly Mulligan who said it, where it's like, when you trade community for convenience, your life is made overall worse, basically. And I like that Digital Circus is explicitly saying, hey, the way you live a better quality of life is by embracing community, even the most annoying, stupid, problematic aspects of it. And I appreciate that. I think that's good that Zubul is like recognizing that they have to also engage with the parts of the community that they don't want to. They're still willing to help instead of just like walling themselves off.
I really like that. On the flip side of that, Gangle is never asked to help Jax. I think that is very appropriate. I fully agree with the boundaries that Gangle had and Zubul respected, and just never questioned about that. because at the same time, like two things can be true. Jax deserved help, and Jax didn't deserve help from Zubul or Gangle, really mostly Gangle, but like Gangle fully just no, there was no obligation there. Whereas Zubul was not victimized by Jax as much because like they knew how to draw up better boundaries. They were just like they weren't targeted nearly as much. So Zubul got to choose, and Gangle never had to.
Yeah. I think the line where Gangle says, "Why can't I cry for Jax?" I think is very telling, because Gangle normally cries at everyone or almost everything. And specifically in the case of Jax now, when Jax is the one that's gone, there's a very bittersweet moment that like, because I think one of the things that maybe Gooseworks was thinking about, I can't say for sure because I don't know her like that. So when Netflix came out with this show, 13 Reasons Why, I believe, was that the show about like suicide and stuff?
Yep. Yeah.
There was a huge discussion about like suicidal ideation and how like when you kill yourself, other people are gonna feel bad, and then you're gonna realize like how bad you were, how you didn't have it. And I kind of respect that Gangle, the one who was probably the most actively bullied by Jax, is the one that specifically is like, no, I'm not, I can't cry for you for after all the harm you've personally put me through. And I think that is like a very honest sentiment. There is a sentiment here about like the overvaluing and the over sentiment about like life in general. And I think that Gooseworks being able to really lay down the law and say that like, hey, people can empathize with you, people can sympathize with you, they do not need to cry or weep over you, especially after the actions that you have done. Your life is valuable, but it will not have like the global mourning effect that you're probably ideating in your own head right now. And I think that is good, actually. I think that's very good that Gangle specifically was the one that set the line.
I think I would say your life is valuable, but so are the other lives that you affected.
Yeah.
And so when you treat people poorly, you have to expect that if something bad happens to you, they're not obligated to help you. They're not obligated to feel any specific way about you in that regard, because the damage does not suddenly erase now that you're in dire straits, now that you're gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away for the people who are left.
Yeah. I want to talk about Ribbit. So many people were speculating about Ribbit for the longest time, and it's so strange to say this because I think the internet got like the vibe of Ribbit correctly, but I also think they underestimated like Ribbit's depth, or what they could only guess was their depth. And
I mean, we had seen previously the picture of Kaufmo and Ribbit with like in the cafe with the hot chocolate or whatever it is, but now we have context of like just how much going there meant to Jax.
I appreciate this, and this is probably not a point a lot of people are ever going to bring up. I appreciate that like Kaufmo gets lines, but I appreciate that Kaufmo explicitly also kind of states that like, yeah, Jax, I know we haven't been good friends for a while. So it's like, oh, Jax not only had a falling out with Ribbit, he also had a major off-screen falling out with Kaufmo. And
either falling out or they just like didn't like in a way that ever facilitated closeness, because Jax, like there was always a distance between them. Also, I can't believe Kaufmo's Aaron Hansen. That's amazing. Every time this man pops up, I saw in the credits, Kaufmo's Aaron Hansen. I'm like, of course. Getting yo mitts and everything.
There was like a post I saw about Gamerverse a while back, and like, I don't want to talk about Gamerverse for a while, but this is the last thing I'll probably mention about it. I really think it's hilarious because this post was basically like, why does Glitch always have like female main leads? What's up with that? You know? And like there's a greater discussion to be had here in good faith about how Because there are people who responded to that comment by saying something along the lines of like, oh, you wouldn't say this if it was a male character. And don't get me wrong, like, yes, that's calling out like a societal double standard about like representation, and we should be calling it out. But also, that's not really answering the question, because if the answer is we just want more diversity, that's cool. But if the answer is greater in the thematic element, I think it's good. Because this is an element of Jax that I will say I relate to more. I find myself becoming way more friends with a bunch of queer people and with a bunch of women and a bunch of AFAB people, much more than I generally ever do with like guys generally. And it's a very weird sense of like, I don't know what it is. There's like an emotional disconnect there for me. And I imagine like, I think it's really telling that Jax's main relationships are all with women, and he doesn't even really talk or get along with Kinger at all or say anything to Kinger beyond like a moment of frustration, you know? So there's like a discussion about male isolation and how people get out of that. And I'm not saying Gooseworks is saying that it is a woman or the queers or the AFAB's job to help a little loser man. But I also think for Jax specifically, I think his own clearly like trans femme elements, he needed female solidarity probably more than he needed like guy friends in that way, which is what I imagine why he was never as close to Kaufmo as he was with Ribbit. I think,
I
you know,
mean, yeah, like I don't think he's historically like we got the talk about like how he was never close to his dad, and like he felt like his dad was disappointed in him. And like they never had any like closeness in their relationship, but he got along better with his mom, at least for the most part in the beginning before the dad left. And it makes sense that if historically you found people like who are more of a femme persuasion to actually like give a shit about your emotions, of course you're gonna trust them more with your emotions than someone who's a dude, at least on some level.
you think Queenie would have been like a boy mom?
Queenie would have solved everything, and that's why she could never be allowed
she
to
could not
meet
stay.
Jax.
She could not stay.
That's the whole thing with like all the Disney moms who are dead. It's like if they had been alive, the story wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Because it's a bunch of disaster dads.
Yeah.
This plot hinges on no one knowing how to handle emotions, and so we can only have a father.
I want to see that AU. I want to see the AU where like Queenie is the one that helps Jax figure out his identity and like not even belittles him, but like berates him for like being rude to the other women in his life.
I think that's the only thing I would have liked them to expand it on more, is how Queenie abstracted.
Oh yeah.
I would have liked to see that, because to me it's like how did she despair knowing what we know about her vis-a-vis Kinger? Like Kinger has lasted the longest, and like to me that's because he loved his wife so much, and like he figured out some stuff. And so to that I say, like, why, like what was different for Queenie in that circumstance, you know?
Yeah. I appreciate this about Ragatha's writing and character, and it kind of helps explains Ribbit's situation, where again, Ragatha is trying to people please, Ragatha is trying to make sure everyone feels okay, but is not giving them the kind of intimacy talk that they deserve. Because I feel like the story with Ragatha here is that Ragatha, because of who she is and her people pleaser tendencies, she wants to help other people feel some kind of way, but that's not what they need. Like, Ragatha in episode 1 apologizes to Kaufmo for not thinking his jokes are funny, so that's one thing. But secondarily, it is the fact to me that Ragatha probably would have seen Ribbit emotionally close off or become more distant, and I think Ragatha pre-Pomni would not have reached out, because she's like, she probably just needs her own time. We all need our own time. You know, it makes sense. And then Ragatha after Pomni is probably going to be in the same boat of choking out Jax for being a dumb motherfucker. And I appreciate that about Ragatha's character, because it shows the sort of to me it kind of shows that like everyone is capable of having way more sway and power and like keeping us all here than like I think we generally ever let on. Because there is a element of like almost helplessness where it's like, oh, you know, there was nothing we could have done. there's nothing more we could have done, or who knows how things would have been. And I think Ragatha very strongly is like, I represent that, and with basically character weakness. And it's very hard to make character weakness a very notable trait in a character that also becomes good writing, because I think character weakness often gets portrayed as like an annoyance as opposed to like an actual like interesting problematic thing. But yeah,
Can't get over how gay the finale was. I'm so happy.
I hope Gooseworks gets a very lovely vacation, because Homegirl deserves it. She needs one so badly after all the shit she's gone through so far. And I wish her luck in whatever future endeavors. If Glitch wants to give her another show, hell yeah. But I think she wanted to do like an actual adaptation of like I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. But honestly, I don't know if that's still gonna be the case for her. Because I don't know, like I juggle writing multiple different stories. The idea that I have to fixate on one for like ever, it kind of stresses me out mentally.
She might be burned out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either case,
I mean,
y-
I'll watch it if she does it. If she
Oh,
doesn't,
yeah.
understandable. But if she put that out there, hell yeah.
oh yeah, no, she has now earned so much goodwill from me that I'm like, yeah, no, I'll literally watch whatever you put out.
Mhm.
Like, as much as I like Glitch, I'm not really following for Glitch now. I'm following for certain creators, and I'm like, yeah, no, whatever Goose does. God, I hope she makes mad money.
I wish I had taken a picture of some of the credits, because I
Mhm.
would like to know if it was just Gooseworks credited for the writing here, or if it was like multiple people. I didn't. I was so out of it. I was bombarded by a lot
Yeah.
in this finale.
I suspect that this is probably majority, if not almost entirely, Gooseworks, which generally speaking is something I would frown upon. But Gooseworks is I'll say it, I think Gooseworks is a generational talent. Like, this is not someone that is spawned in every day. And I think in that case, when you clearly know how to write, when you clearly know what your vision is, and you clearly know what you're trying to get across, that's great. I also think it makes other people feel a kind of way, because it's like, what do you mean you can animate? What do you mean you can storyboard and you can write and you can music direct and you can regular direct? What about the rest of us who can barely do one of these things by ourselves?
I really appreciate after after we see what Leroy looks like, Jax's human self. I'm so pleased that they.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, bud.
No, share.
Yeah.
I'm laughing.
No, why are we laughing? It's because I said Leroy.
I didn't catch what his real name was, but it was specifically the fact that he looks like every emo scene kid from like the late 2000s to early 2010s. I'm just like, oh, this would be your vibe. I don't know. I think that's really funny.
Okay, so there is some. I really like that Jax looks like that in real life,
Yeah.
because the fact that he looks like this to me is self-actualization.
Yeah.
It takes a lot for kids to come from their parents' thumb and look how they want to look.
Yeah.
And so like there are people in their whole lives that they don't dress how they want to dress. And so like if you want to be a scene emo kid, I'm here for this. Like the way that I instantly clocked a lot of Jax's life, I'm like, okay, this is actually really good that his human self is like going out and making friends, going to Zubal's bar, and like living a very clearly queer life. Like scene is inherently tied to being queer. Yes, there was a lot of straight scene kids back in the day, but you know how that goes, is like black people become punk and then the straight white kids become punk, but in between there it's the gay kids. The gay kids of all creeds become punk too. Like it's always co-opted by straight people eventually.
I think it's incredibly fucking funny that Human Jax also just went to like Zubal's bar. I'm just like, oh, this is funny for reasons you don't understand.
God, like if Jax hadn't abstracted and seen like what his human self was like, I would have been like, yeah, I would have. Oh, that would have been so good to have him be like, oh.
He would melt in self cringe, and it would be deeply warranted.
Zubul would have been like, ha! You're gay. Like us. Get self-actualized, idiot.
This is like a little thing from when they were doing some live action moments, and I really appreciate it. I say this with I need people to be clear. I say this with the utmost affection that Jax is a loser. We see like him basically doing like FedEx delivery. Human Jax does a little like he's giving like an old woman up like a parcel, and he does like a
Yeah, it's so cringe.
he does like a little like salute or something, like stands at attention. I'm just like, oh, you loser, you affectionate loser.
Cringe.
You lose.
Cringe baby. I love it.
Yeah. And I'm just like, what a fast way to humanize Jax further. And I think that's really funny. It's subtle, it's a little quick moment, but I think it's very appreciated.
I really love that Human Jax is living a very queer-coded life, and that also, like, I was trying to get to the point of, like, I love that Human Jax is not immediately demanded to become, like, this hyper-femme person, like, go from, like, 0 to 100. Jax is Jax, like, we're never told the pronouns that Jax human is, like, the Human Jax is going by at this point. Because gender is a hell of a process. Like you can realize something about yourself, and for years you're not comfortable going by different pronouns. But like we're not even given like a clear cut like gender situation for Jax. We are told that like through the bow tie being put on top of Jax's head that there's clearly more of a desire to be feminine, and that's beautiful that we don't have to have a clear cut like Jax is a girl. Like, no, Jax has more feminine, there's more feminine to Jax than he is comfortable with, and he can't sit with that for all of the series. And I think that's so important for non-binary people and like specifically trans women to hear, because no one can ask of you to be hyper feminine ever.
Yeah. I think
you
No, go on. You finish your thought.
Sorry, this is a really
no
this is a big one for me, where it's just like Jax is allowed to just be Jax. Like he doesn't have to ascribe to being hyper femme or like even like Jax is clearly queer looking in human form. I would not clock him as anything other than a queer person. That said, like it's so good. It's so good. Where it's just too many times where someone is like in narratives where someone is like a trans femme in some capacity, and then suddenly like when they come out, they're expected to just be instantly like a stereotypical
girly
straight
pop
passing woman. Yeah, everyone watching will have an idea in their head of like of woman, and like that's just not how that works. When you're trans, you should not, no one can expect of you like a certain appearance. And like for straight people, like, or cis straight people rather, they come in all creeds and codes too. Like no, like there are plenty of cis women who don't appear hyper femme, and no one should ask that of them. That it's so important that they can dress and appear as whatever they want. They don't have to pass, they don't have to appeal to a specific appearance. They are just them. Jax is Jax, and Jax is also more femme than he was comfortable with. We don't know whether he wanted to go by she, her pronouns. We don't know what the situation with that is, and we don't have to. The point is that he had a struggling relationship with femininity because he was told his whole life that that was weakness. And so when he realized it about himself, he was instantly mocked. So of course he's going to mock that about other people who have embraced that. It's not a coincidence that his only good relationship in the show is with Pomni, where Pomni was so self-assured. She didn't have to rely on Jax to, like, she wasn't soft the way that Ragatha was. She wasn't vulnerable the way that
Gangle was.
He was so used to seeing their vulnerability, their openness as vulnerability, because that's what he was taught. To be vulnerable is weakness. And so women who are more emotionally available, he's like, nah, that shit's gay and stupid. And then you see Pomni, and Pomni is like able to match his wavelength. That's why in the beginning with Ribbit, he was so open, because like she was matching his freak in the sense of like, yeah, this is stupid and dumb and like having a good time. And it's like, it's not that deep, bro, that kind of vibe. She was giving off bro vibes, but the moment that she tried to be intimate emotionally, he shut down. He shut down when it's not a coincidence when Kaufmo being your stock dude who's kind of chill. Kaufmo didn't have to do anything but remind Jax of manhood, effectively.
Yeah.
Kaufmo didn't do anything wrong, but Kaufmo being there just reminded Jax of like expectations.
The culmination of we all represent as people. Kaufmo's like, hello, masculinity now outside your door.
Yeah, masculinity knocking, and Jack's like, fuck, shut this shit down. Like, it's not a coincidence that he hates on, not hates, but like, you know what I mean? Like, he sees his own weakness in everyone around him who presents femininity.
There's so many layers here that I want to talk about. I think people so desperately want an answer to things, and oftentimes that answer is like, they want basically like a binary. There's a sentiment about like bi people where it's like, no, but are you gay or are you straight? And then it's like bi people like, can I not be both? And then it's like, okay, now you feel like you're a fence sitter and you want the plausible deniability to just blend in with the straight so you don't have to face the scrutiny that like your LGBT brothers and sisters actually go through, you know? And there's a sentiment there about like being part of a struggle and being part of like a group and representing. And I think in narrative, people want such a definitive answer to things. And sometimes the answer is, one, a character has not figured out what their identity is yet, and that's completely fine, which I think is very true of real life, if anything, because I think we're always a work in progress, and we never fully are complete, but we just figure out more about who we are. My sister pointed this out about Jax, where I really appreciate her viewpoint, which is that like she was not on board with everyone immediately calling the assumption that Jax was trans femme, which makes sense. Because she was like, no, I think we shouldn't erase the cis boys' experiences, because femininity is not something that is exclusively to females. It is a everyone kind of thing. Femininity and masculinity are both a force that is present in everyone's life, including young boys. And so Jax could be construed as trans femme. Jax could be construed as like a cis straight guy who is working through his feelings of femininity. Jax could be a he they. And the fact that it's so open-ended.
Jax could be gay and also feminine. There are plenty of men who are like, they're queer and they choose to present in a more feminine manner.
Yes.
Yeah.
And having it be open-ended is such a good lens of representation, because it's like Jax is free to walk any path that he presently chooses to, and it is all of them are valid and all of them are okay, and all of them do not need a hard label or of description. And I think Gooseworks being like what she is, I think she is very aware of that, and I think having that sentiment from a trans perspective is like very deeply valuable, and I think that's incredibly cool. I'm gonna make a judgment call as well. I love that Gooseworks probably hates ironic detachment the way that I also hate ironic detachment. We live in such an age, and I blame like Joss Whedon and the Marvel movies for this, where it's like we're so used to like undercutting serious moments and like genuine sincere feelings with comedy, because oh man, that was awkward. Are we all gonna stand in a circle and just say our feelings like a bunch of jackasses? Oh, isn't that funny? Isn't it so funny to not have to be authentic with other people? Ha.
Feelings are for gay babies.
Yeah, there's a reason why the Marvel Cinematic Universe is mostly just straight white guys. And I'm like, God, this is what media has been missing for so long. And I appreciate that, like, Gooseworks is actively willing to call it out. And also through Jax, because Jax is like, ha, that's gay. And it's like, congratulations, Jax. You are your own victim right now. You are the only one that abstracted out of everyone present. Idiot. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the ability and willingness to call out this kind of behavior and sentiment that has been so goddamn pervasive.
Yeah. Unfortunately, your pain it doesn't give you a pass to give other people pain. It will never be enough of an excuse to hate on people. And ultimately, your most abused person in your life will be you.
Yeah.
To deny yourself being close to anyone, to deny your own identity, you're only hurting yourself. Like you're hurting other people, obviously,
Yeah.
but like you're still hurting yourself.
Yeah.
Like the worst thing you can do to yourself is to beat up on yourself like that, like constantly putting yourself through a shame loop again and again. Like the Jack's persona that was like chained to the piano and just silently gives Pomni the key. And it's like that's Jax's only shred of like
Sincerity.
I'd be curious. Yeah, it was a very sincere moment for sure. I'd be curious what each of them represents, because like you have like the femme Jax that was like trying to wear it ironically and be like nah, and then you have like the cartoony Looney Tunes Jax, and then you have like just the one that's straight up like that's gay, and then you have the one at the piano being like I'm good at the piano, and then everyone's just like shut up and play, and it's like you at the piano, what do you represent? Other like I'm just like it's like the last shred of his ability to take pride in anything. I think you're right. I think it is just like Jack's sincerity is being like shackled and put in the corner of like not now. You don't get to talk.
I think there's a thematic parallel to so when Kane played the piano when he was having his crash out episode, I was like, how the fuck does Kane know how to play the piano? And now with the full knowledge that he kind of goes through each of their brain files, he kind of takes a little bit of each of them and incorporates it into himself a little bit. And
wait, didn't I say that in one of our episodes where I was like, I wonder if Jax plays piano?
I don't remember if you did, but I'd be happy to go back and like see. But yeah. The
two things I was right about: dinner and piano.
Yeah. The gender ironic thing is just gender denial. That's just Jax's like intense. Like if I had to describe Jax's quadrants of his mind, it's like one is clearly about gender and his entire like intense feelings of gender denial, possibly gender envy, and like his feelings about that where it's like I don't care, that's why I wear this dress, it's funny because it's not real, haha, this shows how little I care. And then there's a part of Jax that's like very, because this is something I will say about Jax is very analytical. Jax understands almost instinctively what everyone else's like deal is. And he knows this because it's literally how he has to stay safe. And okay, this is now Tommy revealing a little bit more about himself. When you grow up in an abusive household, you have to become so hyper aware of the mood swings that everyone else goes through so that you can keep yourself safe. And as a result of that, I think Jax is himself both hyper aware of like the quote unquote weakness that goes on with Ragatha. But when you're hyper aware of everyone, oftentimes you're also very hyper aware of yourself. You're very aware of your own feelings and intensities and biases. So the analytical part of Jax's brain is observing the part of his brain that is experiencing gender dysphoria or whatever the fuck is going on there, and is like, I think you're full of shit, dude. But he can't tell himself that because it would be weird. And
Jax is the Jax that's also saying like weird shit about women too.
yeah.
And so like that just adds more credence to what you're saying, because his whole life he's scrutinized what it means to be feminine and like what other people expect of people who are feminine, and he's just like parroting it back to Pomni in that moment.
Yes. And
I find it interesting that he was ideating on like different scenarios of like if like different people abstracting.
yeah.
I noticed that he didn't have one where Pomni abstracted though. Or at least he just wasn't like focused on.
I mean, also Kinger, but like he doesn't give a shit about Kinger like that.
Yeah.
If Pomni abstracted, I think he would have literally broke. I think he would have heard Pomni's words to him in the gun episode where it's like, do you ever think that other people abstract because of you or something like that? And I think Jax would have broke.
And it's true because like when he felt he couldn't go to Pomni, he abstracted. Like when like she was the last straw where like he only had one attachment left he gave a shit about, and when he didn't feel like he had it, he was gone. This show was definitely written by people who have lost people before, and in the queer community, too often we lose people because of being queer in a world that is just, it's already hard enough to exist in this damn rock, but then you add like other factors of just like things that like that, and just like
Yeah.
uh, yeah.
Yeah.
The series is so smart in how it's written.
Oh yeah.
I saw someone talk about him potentially having BPD, and I think that I fully support that reading of Jax. I don't know if it was intentional or not, couldn't tell you, but I do see the connections there. BPD, or just like a childhood like you were talking about, where you had to watch everything you say and like take the temperature of the room around you in order for like to survive. I agree wholeheartedly.
There is a thing about Jax's isolation that I do want to call out, because I do think it is very well written. I think it's very well framed, and I do think it is like very normal, and I like the way that Gooseworks kind of frames isolation amongst everybody else, specifically in regard to Ribbit, because it was the other prominent showcase. With Ribbit, one of the things that Jax does is he makes Ribbit feels like she's not loved or that she's not wanted or whatever, and explicitly goes out of his way to avoid her. But also, not only just going out of his way to avoid her, he forms quote unquote like relationships or friendships, but in the process he kind of like blocks off this other person from her as well. And so from the looks of it, most oftenly she was probably having the most connection with specifically Ragatha, because I think Zubal at this time was just choosing to be completely absent and avoidant of the entire community aspect because they didn't want to engage with this. And Ragatha is like, oh hey, what's going on? And I think most people would be like, oh, you know, my friendship's falling apart, and I don't know what I did to make him hate me, and I really just want to go back to being friends. Because I think we all very consciously and societally understand that like dropping all of that on another human being who maybe is not going to be prepared for that is, one, kind of rude, and also kind of mean and underappreciated or not valued or whatever. And I think in the same sense of isolation that he inflicted upon Ribbit, intentionally or unintentionally, I think when he probably saw that like Pomni was becoming better friends with everyone else, I think there's some part of Jax that was like, I can't reach out to you. I can't go back into your life after everything that I've said and done and just give you my baggage to deal with. That sucks. I don't want that. I don't, as much as I like you and as much as I care about you, I don't want to be a burden to you. And I think Gooseworks having this massive theme of community and how like this kind of unconditional love and support, I think is very real and very important and very prominent, because in Jax's retaliation to avoid community, really, he sows the seed of his own basically destruction. And I don't know, there's something about seeing your friends be better friends with other people and you just feeling like you're a ball of insecurities and anxieties and thinking about what you have to theoretically offer and the answer being so little, if anything, that it makes you rather literally die. And the way that that is subtly framed, I just have a lot of appreciation for, because I think that's an anxious feeling that probably everyone goes through at some point. And I think it's important for people to know that, hey, your friends care. A lot of the time they care.
If they're good friends, they care.
Yeah. What's the saying? It's like, those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind, I think is the phrase. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your friends want you to bother them.
Yes. Oh my fucking God. The amount of goddamn introverts who are like, oh, I don't want to bother people. Bother them. Message them. Tell them hi. Hello.
I'm still learning to reach out to people. It's been a long road and I've made a lot of progress and I have a lot more road to get through.
Yeah. I'm proud of you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Like, in a very, like, again, in the discussion about, like, suicide, I think it is very nice of Gooseworks to be like, hey, you are valued, you are cared for. Here is literally a life that is better for having you in it. And
Yeah.
just showing that, I think, is like, I don't know. Again, at the end of the day, all people want to do is to help one another. And I think the way that Goose has done so is quite good. I think this is very good. Can you believe that Kane's voice actor literally did, like, spammed in YouTube video things and is now where he is.
I logically know this, and it makes so much sense for like Gooseworks' brand and Glitch to just like round up the weirdest people. And yet also I'm like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Ah! And I don't know.
This dude's entire life changed so drastically because of this, because of that one creative artistic choice to like do Spamton. And I'm very happy for him, honestly. Like, truly I am. I'm like, damn, dude. Fuck yeah, bro.
I always love when people's creativity gets rewarded by the universe. I adore that.
It does not happen.
I remember when I was
nearly
younger,
enough,
like I did a ton of fan art for the Adventure Zone, and then they asked me to do guest work for their comics. And like the high, I read that for a hot minute. I was so excited. Little baby me was like, "Yo!" And like to this day, it's my only published work, but still, like it's a good lesson to look back on. It's like when you reach for something with authenticity, chances are you're gonna find some good opportunities.
Yeah. I still remember when I wrote my first script and I got so many professionals to read it, and the amount of like external validation of just being told this is good, keep fucking going. It's not a matter of if you break in, it's a matter of when. That high, that sentiment of knowing that I was quote unquote finally good enough, but now it's just a matter of circumstance. I'm just like, okay, cool. Hell yeah. There's a great sense of self-reassurance that comes from that. And I don't know, if there's a lesson for anyone in this, it's that like, hey, figure your shit out, do you, be weird, and yeah. That's it. That's all I got.
Kudos to everyone who worked on Digital Circus.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you deserve all your flowers. I take in all the comments about your hard work. We're all rooting for you.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing job on the Amazing Digital Circus.
It
It
really
really was an
was a
amazing
amazing
digital
digital
circus.
All right. That seems to be a good end for the video. All right. Bye.